I always find it a little bit easier to start with your upper cabinets and then go to your lower cabinets. I have installed cabinets with people before who actually do the lower cabinets first, and then they put like a jack on the lower cabinets to hold the upper cabinets up. But working by myself, what I'm gonna do is what's called a ledger board. So I'm gonna put a board at the mark that I want the bottom of my cabinets to align, and I'm gonna put it across my wall onto my next wall, and they'll be aligned, and then I should just be able to balance a cabinet on it, push it back, screw it in. It's a great way to do it if you don't have an extra set of hands. Even if you do have a helper, still a great way to do it because it's hard to hold while one person screws and doesn't let it move at all. So we're gonna measure and get a ledger board up and go from there. I really don't need to screw this in a bunch of places because this is just a temporary hold, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take I just have a magnet stud finder, whatever. I'm gonna mark at least a spot at the end on each side and in the middle to just hold my ledger board up. Now, keeping in mind if you use a 2x4, these are not always straight. So I will use this and then I'll get my level and I'll double check everything as I go and I'll shim them and whatnot as I need to. But right now I just wanna find that I have a couple of spots, probably somewhere in the middle. I just want to make sure that I have a couple marks where I can screw my board in and be secure and not have to stop in the middle while I'm holding it up. And you kind of know places like this, you know you'll have one because an outlet, I guess you could have a new work outlet box, but an old work outlet box, they're going to put it on the side of a stud. So I have more than a few points that I can screw into. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of screws pre-drilled into my board so then I can just lift it in and level it. Now what I'm doing is I kind of just have my board balanced there and I have my marks, like for instance, right here I have a mark where I have a stud. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my drill, I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna mark my stud, and I'm gonna pre-drill this. So once I lift it onto my wall, I'm not having to get it started, and I'm gonna do that at 3 studs down my board. You probably don't need 4, you probably just need end and middle, but I wanted to have an extra just in case I was slightly off of one of these studs. All right, now I have my level close by and I have my drill right here available. I have my measurement. I just want to double check for where I want the bottom of my cabinet to be. So I want 36 inches at the base, and that's for the height of my cabinet plus my countertop because your cabinets are normally 34.5 inches, and then you're gonna have about 1.5 inches of counter. So yeah, 34.5, 1.5 inches of counter, and then probably between the top of your countertop and the bottom of your next cabinet, you're gonna do like 18 and 22, between 18 and 22 inches. I personally love them taller because I am tall, but I've noticed that when we've mounted them taller in our personal home, sometimes our guests have had a harder time reaching our microwave and things like that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go 20 inches. I like to split the difference so the upper cabinets aren't too low, but they're not quite as high as they would be at 22. So we have the 36 inches plus our 20-inch gap, so that puts us at 56 inches for my line for what I'm choosing for the base of my cabinet. But I know my floor is not level. This house is an old stone house and it's pretty out of level. So I'm not gonna trust, this is just a guide. My measurement is gonna be more based off of my level than my actual line that I'm drawing right now. I'm just kind of giving myself an idea. Let's try this. So I have this extendable paint roller handle and I'm wondering if I could get it to approximately the height, if I could get that to stay, or if I lift, as soon as I lift, is that just gonna fall down? I accidentally mounted this on top of my line instead of below my line, so I had to redo it, but I wanted to show you guys the video of how I installed this long board by myself in case you need some tips in getting it up working on your own. Oh, I just need it to stay for just a second. Nice. I think we did it, folks. Okay, so now I can screw in this side and that will kind of hold. Yeah! I thought that would take more tries than it did. Okay, now remembering this is not exact because I know there's no way that a stud that I got at the store is perfectly straight. So we're just gonna double check everything as we install it, but this just gives us a set of hands. Now, over in this corner, I also have a cabinet that I have a corner cabinet and then one more cabinet. So I'm gonna put a board right here that lines up off of that board to get those aligned. And then like, easy peasy, guys. already taken out any shelf hardware. I have it right here. And actually that's a good amount of weight. So take that stuff out, and then I'm gonna take the door off as well so that it's just less for me to have to work with. And then make sure you put all your hardware in a safe spot. I start with my corner cabinets and then I work my way out. Before I start lifting into place, I make sure I have everything I need near me and within reach. So I have my drill, I have my cabinet screws, I have my level, I have shims, because it's more than likely that your corner is not going to be square and you may need to make some adjustments. So have everything within reach so you don't have to bring this cabinet back down once it's kind of on the ledge in place. Like I did here, you may need to use some shims in the bottom to make little micro adjustments from side to side, because remember, a 2x4 is not going to be straight. Don't trust this ledger board 100%. Most cabinets will have these thicker reinforced pieces around the perimeter. You can't just screw through the back of a cabinet because most of them only have like a 1/4 inch panel of like a plywood or a particle board. So make sure you're screwing in the right spots so you're supporting and appropriately attaching your cabinet. When you go to install your next cabinet, you're gonna try to line up the top and bottom to make sure the heights are the same. Since I ended up shimming the edge of my corner cabinet, I'm gonna have to shim the edge here to line this up. We're gonna check level. Sometimes if your wall is not exactly the same, you may need to put a shim in the back of the cabinet or back of the cabinet that you already installed to get the face frames to align. You also probably should mark your studs before you go to put the cabinet up. It makes it easier. You can see I didn't do that, or I apparently couldn't see where I had marked them. And so I'm looking for studs while I'm installing this one. These are really cool because you can clamp from side to side, but then there's also, see right here, this front clamp that gets this flush right here. And don't be worried, these scuff marks are from where the hinges were installed by the manufacturer. They'll be recovered. That's not from these clamps. So that's cool to kind of get everything flush if you have a face frame cabinet, and then screw it in and take them off. Once your cabinets are installed, you can put in your pegs for your shelves and put your shelves on and put your doors back on. Most hinges these days that are newer are going to come with 3 different adjustments. You're going to be able to adjust your door up and down on your cabinet, laterally from side to side ever so much, and then the depth of this gap this way and this way. So you see how these give you those 3 adjustments. You do have a little bit of wiggle room, but it's not a whole lot if they're not the way you want them. Now we have all of our cabinets up on our left wall. I'm just waiting for one replacement cabinet to the right of the window, and then I'll finalize that installation on that side.